This conference will now be recorded.
Shouldn't be a problem. Boy, did you hear about Overland Park getting?
Huh? You talking about soccer field?
Yeah. Yeah.
The cameras and,
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I I think it's still heated. Last thing I heard was two of the council members voted against it
Yeah.
and that they were gonna bring it back up again to try to
Right.
turn the decision around. Did that happen yet?
I don't think they had to because the city withdrew the application. So they didn't have to. Rick was here a while ago. I told him we were gonna have 5 people up here. He said he'd just attend on the video conference.
He's gonna go, oh, you're going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, our fearless board leader that wouldn't give me any numbers. a month. So he didn't come.
Well, he's gonna attend by video, right?
My wife sent me an email this afternoon, or late this morning saying, I'm coming. Then, oh, I'm not coming. So I answered and said, you're a female.
Careful.
How do you handle Saturday night?
Oh, we didn't hand out candy.
Yeah.
I locked myself in the garage.
Mom and dad just, we don't ever have any trick or treaters, but my mom and dad just,
Oh, yeah.
take one. But like they did come to watch. They only had a few kids come.
Yeah. Our neighborhood was pretty, I mean, it wasn't anything abnormal, but there was a fair amount of kids there.
I wasn't out. Did you happen to look at the numbers yet?
Number.
The voting, have everybody ranking?
Oh, on this? Yeah, so lower is
One's better.
one's best, right? Yeah. So I didn't see a whole lot of surprises. So where is it that we rank the sports complex?
We didn't because we told them we're gonna bring them back new numbers.
Okay.
We'll have to talk about that separately.
So replace outdated playground equipment. Yeah.
So look at the range, I guess look at the range, I guess more than anything,
Oh, yeah.
per person.
No, it's not a whole lot of consistency, is there?
On security lighting. The big one is the restrooms, ones and the eights,
Yeah. There's only
and
one.
the irrigation.
Well, that's why we talk, isn't it?
Yep.
Talk.
I think it's good though, that way everybody, because not everybody says what they think something.
Yeah.
Some people that,
It's good to make them all do it independently. Usually what happens is the first person who talks.
steers it. Right. Because some people don't talk.
Nobody wants. terrible. And like 45 minutes of chasing your shadow. I'm like.
Okay, it's time for now.
No.
Hey, hello.
Hey. Yeah, like the thing is, you could just, he's got that injury.
You're moving.
And he's still working on it, but he won't slow down, you know, and we,
That light switch is right behind you, Jim. I'm sorry. Unless you guys want to take a nap.
Well-
I might need it. But it is really nonstop.
well, until they just pass out, right?
How you
Must
doing?
be Jim.
I'm Jim.
I'm Mike Brungard.
Good to meet you,
It's
Mike.
good to meet you. I'd shake your hand, but you know,
Yeah,
but
I
the,
can't do it these days.
Yeah. maybe these days will be over someday, huh?
Hopefully.
Does he just fall asleep on the floor, you know, when he's, you know, in the middle of playing? That's what he's good at, yeah. Just
Oh,
play,
yeah.
play, then you look over and it's like,
I just for me. You have one for me?
Yeah, you got it?
Hey.
oh, I
You
do.
do.
Thank you.
You send the stuff, I print it off.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Overachiever.
Yeah, that's above and beyond.
No, I need to stop it.
Stop it, Jim.
All right.
Jim, where do you live?
Corliss, off of Corliss, Taylor Court.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
How long you been there?
Moved there in 2017.
Okay. Brand new then.
Yeah.
Brand new.
Oh, yeah.
He's a pickleball.
Oh, you're a pickleballer.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
There's a gang. They
Oh,
have,
yeah.
they have a gang.
Are they the ones vandalizing the parks?
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
Ruts in our.
Yeah. That's us.
Have you been playing?
Nope.
No.
Not like that thing you sent out. That's the first, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I want to play so badly, but I'm just around Daddy too much. I just can't. It's bad enough that Jacob flies all over the world and comes to our house. So,
Yeah, and Shannon worked in retail. I mean,
yeah, I know. This is hard.
no. I think Ryan said he was gonna be here tonight.
Brian's online.
Oh.
We need to get that on the TV. These guys can't see it.
Oh, shoot. I just figured it was in here. It's always in here.
I guess I can go like this.
Yeah. I actually got the iPad this time just because I tend to not be able to see the writing stuff
Oh, yeah.
that we get. But that's probably more age than anything.
No.
I went to the eye doctor and he's like, okay, I think your eyes have changed, so try this contact. And I only wear one contact, wear one for distance.
Mhm.
So it was on a Thursday afternoon, so I wore it Friday and Saturday, and I was like, it is dangerous for me to drive. I don't know why he thought that this was a good idea.
Yeah.
I could not see. And so I went back to my old one, I called him today, and I'm like, yeah, that was almost a disaster. I don't know why he thought that was a good
But you
idea.
only need it for driving, basically?
No, I need it for distance. And I think he just thought that my vision had improved a little bit in that eye. I don't know. I don't know. I must have been having a good day on the eye chart or something.
Good guess.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I was like, it was bad. And then I was like, Marty, I said, and I should not be driving at night hardly anymore.
Yes.
That's about it.
Howdy.
Hey, how are ya?
You doing all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Good.
Been healthy. Been healthy. Yeah.
Ryan, I'm just checking. Can you hear us? Wave if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you guys loud and clear.
All right, good. Always want to check before we get started. And I'm going to go ahead and start the YouTube recording. So we'll be live. I have to do it from over here. We'll do it now. Watch what you say from here on out.
To remind yourself.
Yeah. And Bill said he'd be joining us remotely.
Okay,
You changed the name.
change the mind.
The mayor said he might also hop on remote.
Where's that music? Does anybody else hear that?
Yeah,
Okay,
are they done it? I thought they were done at 6. Okay.
I'm like, maybe it's just.
The basketball practice. So much of people walking in.
Volleyball.
Volleyball. Ah.
You don't have Bill's cell phone number, do you?
I do, I just texted him, but I can text Tammy too.
You get a reply?
No, not from him. I did earlier when he texted that he was gonna be remote after all.
You're there on that.
I think that's Rick. He calls himself mayor.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. No sash yet, though.
Yeah.
Been trying to talk him into the sash.
I'd rather see him in the crown.
Crown? Yeah.
Wear the sash and for the
mayor.
mayor's Christmas tree lighting.
Yeah.
Kinda like, yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
And, you can open it up.
Oh, it's for the
The-
children.
A lighted sash.
A lit with Christmas lights on it?
Oh, yeah.
Didn't respond either.
Well, when I was in college, we'd give the professor 10 minutes and we could.
Yeah.
Remember that?
10?
I was gonna say.
It was
I-
a good meeting.
I thought it was 5 minutes per degree,
Is
right?
that 10 minutes after I cried? Was it an 8 o'clock class?
I figured he deserves at least 5 minutes.
We'll give him 5.
Jay, was Justin gonna hop on, or is he just gonna watch the video?
Just watch it.
Okay.
He doesn't, I'll do it later, I guess.
Jim, so you had trick or treaters?
The what?
You had trick or treaters?
25.
That's
Wow.
nice.
It's a lot for out there.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we haven't had any for years.
Really?
No, our driveway's too long and scary. Kids don't come down anymore. Our kids in the exact neighborhood, they don't know what is going on in our house.
They're like, nope,
Yeah.
get those people.
This year I turned the lights off, so I don't shut it off. I was just like, don't
Oh, he
even.
can't find the link. Can somebody send him the link?
Yeah. In the agenda.
Is it on the?
Maybe not.
I don't think it is this time. Jay, did you send that to him?
Yes.
Well, it's on the agenda every time, isn't it?
It's, I think, it's not on the agenda.
Yeah, it's at the top of the link for the meeting's at the top of the agenda.
Oh,
Just go to meet backslash. or no.
No.
there it is.
Like you do.
Of course, I don't have my Outlook open. Every time I have to open it here, I have to repair it.
Did you tell him previously?
Yeah. Just in case.
She just sent it to him, like,
Did you? Quicker than I could do it.
Purchased the RG fiber, right?
What's that?
As far as Wi-Fi, RG fiber.
Yeah, I think that's the best one. Let me,
I just was like, why am I?
RG fiber to Soto White.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. There's Bill. Hey, Bill. Can you hear us? I don't know if we're hearing you.
Yeah, I think I got it now.
There you go. You got it.
Sorry. I should have, I guess, prepared, checked it out first.
Well, we're here now. The recording is going, and I think everybody who's going to be present is present. So if you want to, if you're ready, we're ready for you anytime.
All right, meeting's called to order. Who's absent?
Priscilla is the only one absent this evening.
Priscilla is absent. Everyone else is present.
That's right. You and Ryan are online, and the others are in the room.
Hey, Ryan. Hey, everybody.
Bill.
Agenda, have you guys had an opportunity to look this over? I didn't see anything unique or anything that we needed to add. Anybody else have anything? Okay, I will move for approval of the agenda. Ryan, since I can see you, will you second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Any, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, they're all there. Voice vote says it is approved. The agenda is approved, and we are ready to move on to the minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to read over the minutes? I didn't see anything funky. There are the old minutes. I guess I should ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved and,
That was Josh motion and Teresa second.
all right, great. So a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are approved. And back to the agenda, Mike.
Sorry.
I think we're ready
Public
for
comment.
business.
Yeah,
on-
public comment. Yeah, so we're ready for public comment. I do not see anybody other than us online or in the, it doesn't appear like there's any public comments here.
All right. Nobody here for public comment?
Nope.
So we will move on to the bond referendum project prioritization. I know Jay's done a lot of work on this, and I was the last guy to get my numbers in, but I did on Friday, and I presume that he's ready to go. Ready, Jay?
Yeah, could you go to the podium, make sure that green light's on? And on your mics, I know it doesn't matter for the room, but for the YouTube recording, if your mic isn't on, it won't pick you up. So there's a little button there. Oh, Jay, sorry.
By the way, Ryan, I'm just trying to keep our quarterback healthy. That's why I'm staying at home today.
Yeah.
There it is. I'm missing it.
Okay. All right, if you look at the memo to begin with, after the last meeting, suggested that we do a couple things. Ask for all the members to rank in priority the signage, Riverfest Park and Miller Park projects were on the bond referendum 1 through 9, and then go through the trail segments 1 through 4. The other thing that we'll talk about, Mike put pencil and paper together to do a bare bones cost on the soccer fields, water, land. One other thing that I want to bring up before we get going too far is one of the items at Riverfest Park is a shelter house. And through discussions with Mike and also with the city council has been having, they are planning, we've talked to you guys about this before, but they are still planning to put a cover, I'm just pulling up right now, the newest concept over that stage. We had talked about making that a dual purpose. So obviously when we're having concerts or festivals or things like that down there, the stage is being used, that would be its purpose. But the other 300 plus days out of the year, weather depending obviously, we could double that area up as a shelter house, place some picnic tables and allow that to be used and or rented by the general public, giving them another location. Currently, we rent the shelter house at Miller Park, which we have about 8 or 9 tables in there, and then we have the one back here that leads to the aquatic center where we have 4. It's a smaller one. So that's something I wanted to throw out there. That doesn't mean you have to take a shelter house off the list for Riverfest Park, but I wanted to make you guys aware that the city council is moving forward with putting, this is the latest, some type of roof structure over that stage. So just want to make sure you guys understood that before we get going into much further. Last part of the memo, if you guys come to consensus tonight, great. If not, we do have next month as well to get through this in hopes of making a recommendation to the city council for some CIP funding. And then at that point, I think we'll also get back into a little bit on the possible referendum discussion. But as of right now, the goal is to rank these items and make a suggestion to the city council for project inclusion in the CIP. So we'll go to the next page. That's a breakdown of the spreadsheet on the parks signage, Riverfest Park, and Miller Park projects. The numbers are pretty straightforward there in terms of everybody's rankings as well as the averages. I think my intention tonight is to, I don't want to necessarily say go line by line, but have some discussion, maybe as to if you feel strongly for or against something, making a case a little bit in regards to that. Now it's on the second page with the trail segments. I do want to go ahead, since it's new, before we get going too far, if you'll go to the last page and what Mike put together on kind of a bare bones cost analysis for the soccer field. I'm gonna let Mike step in now and kind of go through what he has here and kind of the differences so everybody's aware of what was cut and everything.
I think it's relatively self-explanatory, at least it was when I drew it up in my head. So under the map I started with was the concept drawing that we had Doug Pickard do in advance of the bond referendum. And so it includes, the paved parking lot with hundreds of parking spaces, the restroom facilities, some mass grading on the entire site, and then the field area, which is actually two separate areas there. And you can kind of see the north rectangle and a south rectangle. So that whole thing together was about 1.2 million, 1.3 million, somewhere in there. Did include the restroom building with water, sewer service, security lighting, that sort of thing. But the main cost items were that paved parking lot and the mass grading for the whole field. So what I tried to do was come up with something that would serve our needs and not have paved parking and some of those other higher cost items. And really, I guess in a broad brush stroke, was able to get it about half as expensive, taking that parking lot out. So the fields are what they are. They have to stay, these two areas. So they're just, as was proposed in the bond referendum, I'm still showing the $50,000 in there for field irrigation. That's a big ticket item, but if we want nice playing surfaces to last and not be to the whim of the weather, and also to be able to get the playing surface up and ready within 12 to 18 months, that's what needs to happen. Otherwise, we're playing down at Riverfest now on grass that probably took 5 years before it really was kind of ready to have activity. So that's another thing to keep in mind. I do have grading numbers in here for the grading of the parking lot, but the blue area here would just be a gravel parking area. And you can see it's about a third the size of the other area, or the parking space. I haven't done any particular calculations or, gotten with any experts on how much parking we need, but do remember when we talked about the parking in here, the main issue was the overlap between soccer game time slots. So you have a bunch of kids playing in one time slot and a bunch of other teams for the next, and there's this overlap period of 10 or 15 or 20 minutes where it's just the numbers, you basically have to double the numbers that you need. I think with some scheduling modifications, if we're willing to say this game stops at 8:30, the next one doesn't start till 9, maybe we'd be able to work around it. Anyway, this is, I don't want to just call it a wild guess placeholder, but in terms of the parking need, that's the element of this that I'm least comfortable with. So we might need more parking, I guess, or do some out of the box scheduling sort of scenarios. So that aside, gravel parking, I still do show restrooms in there. So between the restroom building, 200,000, and the water and sewer surface to get it there, you're looking at like 260,000 of this is just that restroom. Now, depending on the level of service we want to provide, we could just have porta pots out there for the Saturday mornings and the practices. That's a possibility. So you could easily take 200 grand off of this and have a functional playing surface that we can place on. So that was just the first shot. You know, we can spitball ideas on the extent of this, but I do think, you know, it'll be at least several $100,000 to get the field level and green, and get parking access with enough gravel to handle game day and practices. We also have security lighting. Now, that's not field lighting. These won't be lit fields. This is just security lighting, like for around the building. So that's the concept. And that's, again, that was just my idea. So there's lots of others.
So I guess going back to, Bill, you can kind of take over, but my suggestion is to kind of go through these and kind of hit some high points and low points that everybody kind of felt like on these different ones. The only numbers, dollar numbers are what Mike presented. Those are the only ones that are different. Everything else is straight from the referendum. So, I guess I'd like to over to you, Bill, and see what direction you want to go here.
Okay. So do we want to continue the conversation about the sports complex, obviously first, I would think?
We can do that since we're on that if you want to.
Yeah, I think we probably should. I've got a couple of questions. Do we have a number for graveling? So I'm assuming that the grading of this parking spaces is already included. What does it cost to gravel the rest of that?
So in this cost estimate, I've got grading the parking lot. So there's some cut and fill there, but that's only about 15 grand. The gravel itself, 5,400 square yards at $12, that's 65,000 just for the blue area that you're showing there. So
It'd be another 130,000 for the rest of it.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you could, I mean, just extract that number and double
About a
it.
third of it looks like.
That 65,000 number does include the drive aisle. So yeah, you could probably.
And why does the drive lane come from a different location if we don't pave it?
Well, I wanted it. It could come from anywhere. We could put that parking anywhere. I thought if we're going to do the restrooms, it makes sense to have the parking by the restrooms, and so therefore made sense to have the driveway come in somewhere else. But we could bring it. Probably doesn't make sense to have it still the same access onto 79th, regardless of where the parking is. You could still extend that.
Right.
Yeah.
So my thought on this was if we're going to gravel it, which is pretty relatively inexpensive, then maybe we take a sort of a gradual approach to getting that paved, and we would go gravel, and then maybe with the hope that in 5 or 6 years we would go over the gravel with a chip and seal, and then maybe later on we would go over the chip and seal with asphalt and curb.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yep. That's
So I guess I'd be interested in knowing what it would take to gravel the whole parking lot. I know that's adding to it, but if we're gonna have a parking lot there, I think we ought to go ahead and use it, because they're just gonna park on the grass anyway. Did anybody program this parking for like for the games that we're likely to have?
Well, no, like I said, so the original layout that shows all the stalls that was in the referendum, that I think was done intentionally with some thought behind it. Number of teams, number of kids, number of games, the overlap scenario I was talking about. That's the full parking lot. And so, yeah, I mean, to gravel the whole thing, we'd probably take it from 65, maybe up to 150 or so, I would think. They'd probably gravel that whole area. But you do lose some efficiency when it's just a big, wide open, free-for-all type parking scenario. There might be some other things we need to do.
You know, there's some things you can do. I used to be involved in FCCJC, the Football and Cheerleading Club of Johnson County. And they have a gravel parking lot out there at Heritage Park. And they just put some stakes and string line in place, and it helped to identify where the parking places are and what the most efficient way to get people in and out. And then, of course, you can do some things programmatically. Don't have all the games in at the same time, or schedule them intentionally so that they won't end at the same time to help traffic. But my thought is we should, if it's already going to be graded, we should at least throw gravel on top of it and put some stakes and line out there to provide the parking places. Any other thoughts from the group?
Mike, you weren't including grading for the rest of that in there, though.
No, we'll have to throw the grading into.
Bill, he was only grading the blue area.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, the grading on that is 14 grand. So you add that to the 65 and then double it. I mean, that's ballparking it, obviously. It's not like the site's flat, you know, it's not like it needs mass grading to move a hill from one side of the site.
Right.
You really just need to kind of make the bed for the gravel, you know, make sure it drains. So the mass grading shouldn't be a major factor.
I think, to me, it would make sense to, I don't know, to go ahead and plan for the future, knowing that this is all a dollars and cents thing right now.
Yeah.
But over time, we know what it's going to look like. So let's start with gravel and then go to the next best thing when we can, and then go to the next best thing when we can. But I would say cover the whole thing in gravel. We can talk about restrooms in a minute, but right now, regardless of restrooms or where they are, if we programmed the parking properly, then I can't see cutting it in third and expecting that it's all going to work right. I am pregnant pause for anybody else on the board who'd like to give a comment.
Yeah, I agree with Bill on the parking and looking at what grading and gravel would be for the whole thing. It kind of makes sense to do it all at once. And then once you've got the gravel down, then you can go to the next best thing.
Anybody else? So I'm going to take a consensus of the board that we should go ahead and add gravel in for the rest of that parking layout. Take out the temporary drive there that you have and go back to the original. That makes sense. And maybe that leads us into restrooms and whether or not we should delay the restrooms and use porta potties. I'll tell you from experience that a couple of years of porta potties makes it pretty easy for the community to be receptive to the cost of restrooms.
How many porta potties would be out there? I mean,
How many?
Yeah.
Ooh.
There's only one up at the school usually, right?
Okay,
At
Countryside.
Yeah.
Obviously, depending on with our current numbers, 4 or 5.
Okay. And how much does it cost? Like, does the city provide
Yeah.
those, and then how much is it? I mean, obviously there's a fee for every time they're cleaned and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
We pay, I think we're right at about $90 a month per unit. And the thing with those is it would probably need to be higher than that because with our porta pots, when we actually have them out, they're usually in areas that aren't used very often or they're seasonal, so they're cleaned weekly.
Mhm.
I think I would need to probably go to at least twice a week.
Right,
So I don't know what that would do to the cost, to be honest with you, I have to check.
and then, and when, because it's soccer, it's spring through fall, right?
We would have them out there March, April, May, and then we would have them August, September, October.
Or not, so it's not the summer.
So basically 6 months.
Okay.
But the thing with that is too, that's when we're having our season. Now, who's to say when that's wide open that I probably shouldn't still have one there
Mhm.
for people just going out on their own, not programmed
Right.
soccer.
I would think if we did do it, we would do it for programs and not necessarily for just general use. So it'd be about 6 months at $150 a unit. Is that right?
Approximately.
And now we got a restroom over at Riverfest Park. I know it's not on the perimeter, but somebody's really opposed to Johnny on the spots. They can hop in the car and drive a block and hit a restroom, right?
Yes, in theory, yes.
Yeah.
They're holding up for-
I mean, 4-year-olds, the porta potty though, I'm saying for family, you'll hit a porta potty, but if you're like one of those people, I can't do a porta potty,
Yeah.
there's an actual public restroom not too far off too.
So about, it really looks like if you were to do 4, is that how many you would do, Jay?
Yeah,
Probably 3 and one big one.
probably, something like that.
So it might be if they were $150 a month, and you might have an ADA one that's a little bit more than that. So it would be without the ADA one at $150 a month, it'd be about $3,600 a year. So rounded up for a big ADA one, call it $4,000 a year. That's pretty manageable, I would think, compared to the cost of restrooms. I'm not saying we shouldn't have restrooms, but I think restrooms is an easy thing later on to get people to buy into, especially after a place gets used for a year or two. Ryan, you probably have a little, do you have any history with this? I know I do from having facilities with no restrooms. You don't put the restrooms there, in about 3 years, they'll be demanding that you put the restrooms there. That's my point.
Yeah, I've been on several meetings just with the school district on this, but the question I had was, I know we haven't talked about the location of it, of the restrooms, but if you're going gravel, I would assume water and everything's coming from the road, and before you would pave everything, you'd want to get the restrooms and get the lines ran, especially if the restrooms move to a more central location down the road. Just throwing that thought.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And you can save the cost of the restrooms and the water and sewer service.
Well, we're gonna have the water service either way on site, and
Oh, yeah,
then not necessarily at that location, we're gonna have water service on site.
So Jay and Mike, is there a reason that the full service restroom facility is located where it is on the south end of the property?
Yeah, that's because the long-term plan is to put some baseball, softball fields on the south and east where the brown is, I guess orangish brown or whatever you want to call that color.
Yeah, so that location makes sense.
That would be centralized then. Now, looking at it now, no. But in the build out, yes.
What about from a civil perspective, Mike?
Makes no difference.
It's flat.
Yeah, pretty flat.
I think our sewer connection is actually along the south side of that property too. So that location's closer there to the sewer than it would be were it closer to the street.
That's right. Yeah.
And I guess the overall goal here was to kind of cut down on the total number. I wasn't a part of the first go around with this, or kind of new to this, but is that kind of where we're at?
Yeah. So, after the bond referendum vote failed, then we need to fit whatever park improvements that we do need to fit in the context of the overall CIP for the city. And, the funding just availability isn't there. So, yeah, the goal of this was to come up with something that would make the land acquisition pay off immediately, basically. And that, we buy this land and then put it to use with soccer fields. So I think that's what, it's tough not to.
Oh, so we don't already have soccer, there's not already soccer fields out there?
No, not here. We play soccer, and actually it's kind of on this map on the lower right. You see that loop drive for the Riverfest Park. One season of soccer is played inside that loop. And then that's the spring season. And then the fall season, we play on the school district property.
We did play actually down there this fall.
Oh, we played in the fall? Okay.
Typically in the fall, we use Sunflower South, Sunflower North, and Countryside.
So what we're wanting to do is consolidate all those into this location over here. And that's why there's two kind of green squares for spring and fall.
Yeah, we don't have soccer specific areas like we do for baseball, softball, and obviously basketball court or whatever. We don't have facilities strictly for soccer. We just find open areas with grass and put some goals up and some lines at this point.
Hey, Jay, is it fair to say that this complex, at least for the immediate future, would host most of your at least competition activity, if not competition and practice? Or would you still need the other locations?
Based on current numbers, I think we could utilize this for both practice and for games. A lot of it's going to kind of depend on wear and tear a little bit. We're starting to see more wear than we really want to keep it nice. We do have alternatives to where we could go back to where we have been playing to make that practice area as well.
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking, is that this accommodates our current program without a whole lot of necessarily room for growth. So it would be anticipated that we would probably continue to use at least those other places for practice. We'd use this as the primary competition location, but as programs grow, we'd still be using probably some of the same places that we continue to use for practice. That's what I would probably say to the community.
Yeah, more than likely.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I did some math right, if you multiply the parking lot times 2 and you subtract the sewer, would you take out the sewer service?
Yes, if you don't have restrooms, you would take out the sewer.
I mean, that's real basic math. Is taking that budget down to 422,000 instead of 647.
So you probably have to triple the parking lot numbers instead of.
I bumped it up a little bit more than double, but.
Yeah, it's gonna be a couple $100,000 less than this for sure.
Well, that sounds kind of good.
Hey, Mike.
My only thing is, in that situation, I'll say devil's advocate, but Mike knows I'm great at this. We just upgraded at Riverfest to permanent restrooms where they're playing soccer. Within the last few years, the county upgraded to a nice permanent restroom at Sunflower. Where we used to have porta pots for the bowling grounds out there, and then the porta pots at Riverfest. So depending on how you look at it, it should be a step up in terms of playing field, but then it would be a step backwards for the cost versus regular restrooms, which we just move forward on with Riverfest not too long ago with Sunflower. So,
You know,
give and take there.
Jay, I think that brings up a very valid question that we should, as a group, consider. The timing of our previous election was pretty much about as bad as it could be. COVID hit right after everybody had received their property assessment valuations, and we failed by, I don't know, it wasn't a huge margin. Mike, what was the margin?
I think it was like 4%.
It was very close.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if timing was as much a problem for voters as anything. And I guess I'll toss this out there. Would it be totally irresponsible for us to put a very similar ballot back on the question? Maybe not now, but as the financial landscape changes, if we put it out, let's say next summer or next fall with a very similar number, would that be irresponsible of us? That's our question, without changing a whole lot to the scope of what we put out, just because we know that timing was bad when the election occurred.
Mike or Rick, you want to step in about the discussion you guys had at the council last time?
Well, yeah, I'll start, Rick, you can stop me. I was surprised that the council seemed very willing to have that about sending another referendum out. They didn't talk about just sending the same one back out immediately, but they were very receptive to another referendum next year, which surprised me a little bit. I mean, so the fall time frame is very doable. We didn't get a whole lot of detailed discussion that I recall about revising the referendum in some manner. You know, I think whether it's responsible or not, you know, fiscally, you know, it's as sound now or as it was in spring. And so in terms of being responsible with it, I think the question is really comes down to a policy question. And, you know, I think with input from the park board, that'll be a council decision to make. So, you know, recommendations on CIP and then follow that up with, like, as Jay mentioned earlier, kind of some reset on the referendum discussion, I think is very appropriate for this board to be considering.
Okay, so Mike, this is, in your mind, this discussion that we've just had about the scope of the soccer project has been more for the consideration of the CIP?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Does everybody understand that? We would be wiping all of this off of the next referendum question by placing what we just discussed on as an item on the capital improvements program.
True. Yeah. So you could wipe half the cost of that off of the referendum. So we take it to a 2.8 million rather than 3.2. Yeah, I mean that's a good idea, avenue to pursue for sure.
The other thing to think about is once the council has their discussions on those things that do not get onto the CIP that are suggested could be put on a long referendum.
They could,
Because
yeah.
that's gonna happen, the decision's gonna be made on CIP stuff
Before.
in time
Yeah.
for a referendum. Put together and put out.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. And again, let's see, you know, this is competing with other CIP needs. And so for an idea about the scale of our CIP, the first CIP we did the first really comprehensive CIP we did in 2017. It was a 5-year plan, consisted of about $11 million worth of improvements over 5 years. And it stayed about like that. I think it snuck up last year to about 13 million, but we're we're counting on some grant funding from the state and federal programs to arrive at that 13 million. But from the city standpoint, that's kind of the scope of the CIP over 5 years. So it's not unreasonable to think that a park improvement that's $500,000 would be in that CIP. Not unreasonable at all. I don't think we could put 3.2 million of the bond issue, the referendum in the CIP and over the next 5 years. That might be a little too high a goal, but that's kind of the scope of where we're of the program.
Well, with that being said, I mean, is there any reason why we can't present the whole budget to the CIP and see if the board doesn't pick it apart and say, well, we'll give you this much, and then we can add.
Well, I think from a governing body standpoint, they would, and it's kind of why we're doing this section, they want to see what our park board priorities are. Because I know they want to do some of these. I know parks are an important part, for the council. They don't want them ignored. And the referendum would have handled that. But so yeah, they want to see, because I think they do want to move forward within the next several years on some of this. And so they want to see what of it can we knock off here as we go along, and then keep our eye on the target that might be.
Well, I, as an old lady, think restrooms are really important. However, I understand them being at Riverfest because Riverfest is being used for multiple things. Whereas if, we have to save, if we're looking to save money, maybe pulling the restrooms from a soccer field, although I understand they're used a lot and you have little kids, but that's a big ticket item. That could easily be argued because the need to be met with the porta potty.
I would say at this given time, if we built those soccer fields and we're using them 6 months out of the year, broken, those people going down there, you would see more usage in there than you would see at the
Okay, all right, well, that's fair enough.
total use.
Okay.
Because the biggest usage right now, Riverfest, is moving to soccer.
Okay.
Other than, I guess.
Well, we haven't had any.
Not this summer, the summer before. So, yeah, this year, no matter where you go.
So I have a couple of thoughts on that. First of all, I think that the soccer field by itself is really a need that is driven by the growth of of course, up until COVID, the growth of our soccer program. And we're just flat out running out of space and really running out of good space. So the purchase of that, and I think in my mind, the reason that we went ahead with and created the purchase option on that field was that we knew that we were going to need the space. So I feel like CIP could support just basic playable facilities, which is obviously going to include parking. If you're going to have practice and games at a facility, you're going to have parking. Basic to me still says, well, we don't have restrooms. We do have permanent restrooms across the street, but we could obviously put the portable restrooms out there to accommodate games and practices. And then the stuff that is extra, and I think this is how most people look at bond elections. It's stuff that not necessarily you have to sustain a program, but bond elections they're optional. You get to vote for them. And so that's where I think you could put the restrooms potentially in a bond referendum, but still put the facility and the parking and the basic essentials. And I would say irrigation is essential to a field as we're going to use it in these days. You can put that in, potentially justify that in the CIP, and then maybe the parking. And I don't know if there are any other extras. I haven't identified them yet. And it's gravel parking, by the way, but maybe you could put the asphalt and the curbing and the restrooms in a referendum. Mike, are you shaking your head? Yes.
Yeah, I think that makes
Mayor,
sense.
are you, more importantly, Mayor, are you shaking your head yes?
Bill, that's exactly what I was thinking. You summarized my thoughts well.
Thank you. That makes me kind of proud. So Jay, did you hear what we said?
Yes.
Put the basic necessities that you would have to operate practices and games on that soccer field once we acquire the land in the CIP, and go up there and take arrows until the council does it. And then put the extra stuff that makes it nice and makes it more of a destination in a bond election.
Okay.
Makes sense. So do we want to talk about the rest of these?
Yeah, we do.
Dare I say it? Well, there's certainly smaller ticket items.
We're starting with the park stuff.
So just a reminder, low number is higher, right?
Yeah.
Higher priority, right?
Ranks
Okay.
higher. Unless you didn't fill it out that way. Everybody's understanding. The lower number is the higher priority.
I mean,
I think the other thing important about these is that I think the survey told us that Miller Park seemed to be more important than Riverfest Park in terms of people's desire for immediate improvements. That my recollection.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of how this survey showed out too. If you look at the lower numbers, they're all down here in Miller Park. Anything below a 4 is down here in Miller Park. Replace playground equipment, ball field irrigation, expand the restrooms. They're all sub-4s. Those are the only sub-4 numbers we have on this. So it's Miller Park heavy.
Yeah, Miller Park is looking
Yeah.
to need some love.
Needs some love.
yeah, I haven't had young kids out there for a while, so I don't look at it as much as I used to, but I remember it was a really important facility when I had younger children. And, you know, I think that really not a whole lot's changed since my kids have been out there. So, I heard, like, when Whitney had read through the survey, I think it was last time, I think I heard, you know, just a calling from the community to make sure that we do, you know, maintain our current parks and make them look really as top notch as we can before we kind of ask for more money on other things, you know. And Miller Park looks dated and the playground equipment's old, and we need more restrooms. And I think, you know, when I was thinking about this, that was definitely kind of on my mind. What the community I felt like was saying was, take care of the parks that we have first.
And if you're looking at Riverfest, then, you know, the big ticket item there is shelter house.
Yeah.
That's pretty much, I mean, we're kind of taking care of that already.
Yeah.
So if you look at Miller Park, the highly ranked stuff is, you know, everything except the parking there. That's only 156 grand, all of those things. Playground equipment, irrigation, the bathrooms.
We're fixing the drainages, because everybody always says,
Yeah.
if you ask about Miller Park, they say, well, the thing, you know, it floods. That's what they always want to tell me. But
That's already in the CIP.
that's already going to be taken care of. Yeah.
Mike, have we selected a designer for that yet?
Yeah, we decided a designer. We don't have him under contract yet. That'll be happening soon. I mean, the goal is to build that next year, so.
I think this part of it, in my opinion, ended up pretty close to where I probably would have had it. I don't know. What others think, but if we were to consider this by itself, I would be okay going forward to the council saying, well, this is how we ranked them. My one thing before we move on to the trails is that I still think that regardless of how we ranked them, it's possible that if we take the soccer complex out of the next bond referendum, I think we can leave all of this stuff in and have success, frankly. And still get asphalt and restrooms into the soccer complex. Soccer facility, I should say. It's not really a complex. And I think that may have been one of our issues in the election, is that people thought it was kind of a destination like the Shields thing or the Olathe thing. And it's really just a community amenity that we need to add to sustain our programs. I'll stop talking. Someone else should talk. Ryan, you should talk. You don't talk enough.
Yeah, I do a lot of that all day. I'm still learning within this group. So like my rankings, like I'll just like mine were kind of gauged towards me as a father with small children, and I, like I said, new to this group and wasn't familiar with a lot of it, so that's why mine kind of look the way they do. But yeah, I do agree. The Miller Park, we've been down there several times. A lot of the things look outdated. Kids still have fun on them, but it would be nice to have new cool stuff down there. But yeah, like you said, these items are much smaller in the grand scheme of things than the whole soccer facility.
Anyone else? Teresa hasn't said anything.
I'm agreeing with everything. But yeah, we
You're-
take the shelter house out too on River Fest Park. It really cuts down. I agree that we could just send all of this back to a referendum if we can get the soccer field and CIP.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. I think if that stage can double as a shelter house, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Look at that, 100 grand right out of the bond election. Next monolith. Another 500 grand from the soccer complex. 500 grand that we can drop off when the mayor pushes through his CIP. Josh,
What? I already talked.
you seconded something. That was about it.
I was thinking, Mayor wouldn't want to answer that question.
0.7. I'd kind of like to have the numbers out here to the right of how they actually graded out among us. 1 through 8 or 1 through 9.
You mean the average column?
Yeah, he sorted. Yeah, it's on it.
Ranking
Yeah.
average, I guess. So I was trying to do it myself. So outdated equipment first. 3. Ball field irrigation second. Restrooms third. And then jump up here to security lighting at Riverfest.
Playground at River Fest.
Playground Riverfest. That's 5. And then shelter house, which gets canned because we've already got one.
And then disc golf.
And Priscilla, how do you feel about that?
She's not with us.
Here.
I forgot. Ryan, I don't think you were here, but Priscilla let us know how she felt about disc golf. It's not one of her favorites.
We've got one on campus at the high school, and I don't think it gets much. But it's nice.
I think there's also one that goes down the Greenway isn't there? Or maybe it's just on the DeSoto golf course. The Oak Country golf course.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Soccer
Oh, yeah, that's soccer. I'm sorry.
In Manhattan, the disc golf was an Eagle Scout project.
Mhm.
And then you've got donations from companies. Pretty
Well, we'll let an Eagle Scout take care of that.
cool.
So honestly, I kind of like this and I would recommend it in that order to the council. If they want to trim it, then they've got some guidelines for us that we've kind of agreed to. This is how we would trim it if you had, or the order that we would trim it. I think we did exactly what they asked of us.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay, let's look at the trails.
Yeah.
Mary Jo,
Yeah,
you and I we were channeling one another, weren't we?
I know, yeah. You're just, you're trying to read, I'm so bad with the
The
maps.
rest of these people need to get on board. So I will tell you what I thought. I don't know, I can't speak for Mary Jo, but one of the things that I recall from our early discussions about the trails, and this is something that I kind of latched onto, is I really like the idea that we were going to be able to connect Clearview City with Riverfest Park. I think that has both a transportation connection value as well as the just health and well-being value of using trails. So,
No, keep going. I
Okay.
want to find the trails map from a previous park board
So
meeting.
that's why I ranked, I'm not sure if that's why Mary Jo ranked it the same, but that's why I ranked the two that connected Clearview City to Riverfest 1 and 2. No. I'm sorry, Jay, speak
No,
up.
I was telling Mike, I think he has to go back for.
Just
Oh, okay.
meeting, I'm sorry.
So Mary Jo, since ours were the same, is that where you were thinking, or were you thinking something different?
Exactly what I was thinking. I think that when we discussed this and I, kind of was talking about, kids that are walking on the road, for those who are like, oh, let's not ride the bus or whatever. It was mostly about the safety and providing that line of walkable transportation. Just, Clearview City is kind of isolated out there.
Mhm.
Plus, then I think it encourages people to come into town because they can walk safely.
Yeah.
So, no, that's exactly why I did it.
So it seemed like to me, and I guess I might be repeating myself, but it seemed like to me that the connection from Clearview City to downtown and onto Riverfest Park met a transportation goal as well as the physical fitness and I guess Parks and Recreation part of trails, where the other trails, while they still do connect people, I think the other one has even an economic and social connection that maybe the other two options did not. So that's why I ranked those two ahead of the others. We should probably hear from someone who ranked differently. Teresa, you ranked them.
I tried to
Josh, you ranked them.
Yeah, I can't remember why I ranked what, though, man. It's, I think when I'm thinking about it, I guess I was thinking, when we're thinking about people movement and safety and flow, like people, I thought I recalled, the idea of like road expansion projects, maybe including, more usable sidewalks. And so I think in my mind, when I'm thinking about recreational trails, I downgraded the Sunflower Road to 91st to 103rd, thinking that, well, we might be able to kind of pick that up as an item if those roads are ever improved, to also improve some sort of, walkable area there. But, that's something that, Bill, honestly, that's something I hadn't really thought of, I remember that was a big deal when we kind of were all talking about these trails, months back, about including that to making sure a safe walkway, safe pathway to at least get to the school, and to get doesn't connect to Riverfest, but it connects to what Lexington Lake Park, that's right.
Sure.
So get to that part. And then if you connect to that 95th Street trail, then they get to school, they can get to other walkable things to get down to Riverfest, they can connect to the whole community then.
Right.
Right now, there's not any way other than walking on the streets, right?
Yeah, but hey, Josh, I think you make a good point there, though, that there are a couple, let's see, particularly the K10 route. Which one is it? This one?
Oh.
No. Let's see. Yeah, the K10 Kill Creek to Kill Creek Road. That one is probably not likely, and Mike, you can chime in on this. That's probably the least likely to be done with with some sort of a road improvement.
Yeah, there won't be any road improvement there ever.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. So that's really not a terrible way to look at it, Josh, that maybe some of these others will just get done because of as development happens, but maybe we ought to be looking at the ones that there's no way that development is going to, at least in our lifetime, that development is going to create that path, that maybe those are the ones that we ought to be looking at.
Yeah, going by social media, last time, the Sunflower Road, 91st to 103rd, a lot of people voted no on this because they said, like, the roads are small and gonna have to be redone anyway, and that's gonna just wipe out this trails anyway.
There was concern that we
So,
built something
yeah,
that has
so a lot of
to be
people
redone.
voted that I'm voting no because these roads need to be redone anyway, and then.
Well, you can talk to you and go where I live.
Yeah, I mean, we built it so it wouldn't, I mean.
Right, I know.
it's not the answer, but it just seems that that's how people voted.
It just needs to be presented more clearly so everybody understands.
Yeah.
This is gonna waste the money we're.
Right.
And then is there any like talk of making that road better? Like,
No,
okay, so,
not Sunflower, not for a while.
yeah.
I wouldn't say, I mean, it's not like it's not a possibility. There is
There's some
talk
lots
of,
being sold there right up those large lots, but that's outside of the city or no?
yeah, it's outside the city.
Okay.
Yeah, there is talk of, the council putting together an area plan for the southwest growth area, which is south of K10 and west of Lexington Avenue. And that probably will include some sort of a corridor plan for 95th through there, because there's some larger lot parcels, one of which is already zoned heavy industrial. And then there's that Sunflower water treatment plant there that's going to be developed at some point. This corridor here, I could see becoming something that looks like 91st Street within a relatively, near time period, 5 to 10 years. There hasn't been any similar discussions about Sunflower Road, but never say never. But right now, that's just not been on the radar. 95th has been on the radar, but just from Lexington to Sunflower.
Yeah, I'm gonna say my ranking stand.
So how's everybody feeling then about these?
So, sorry, one more question. Is Sunflower a city maintained road, or is that a county maintained road?
It's half and half.
Half and half.
So it's a borderline, so we do, the county does everything kind of north of 95th.
Okay,
The county does, and we do south of 95th.
okay.
But the county's not, I mean.
So that would be something to talk to the county commissioner about.
Yeah,
Mike,
they chip sealed it not too long ago.
Yeah,
And they
yeah,
did
they did
some
improve
short
it.
improvements. They're not gonna be making it a boulevard. I mean, That's up to us. We want that down.
hey, Mike, can you take us back to the rankings or
Yeah.
There you go. So how did we end up as a group?
As a
2.5, 2.1.
Well,
The K10 Kill Creek to Kill Creek Road was the least favored. The rest of them were relatively close.
yeah, it's the 87th Street was the first one, and then the Kill Creek Road was second, a close second.
Mhm.
I could certainly live with that, with the one caveat that if we don't create the K10 Kill Creek to Kill Creek Road project, it's probably never going to get done. So the only way it's going to do it is if we do it. The rest of them have a chance, potentially, is at getting, well, no, I guess the other Kill Creek Road one doesn't either, but the other two have a chance. The Sunflower Road ones have a chance through development. Mike, would you say either of the two Kill Creeks have a chance to
Well, I think
be done through development?
the Kill Creek one here, number 24 here on the map, it's got a decent chance at some funding like Safe Routes to School funding potentially that we really haven't contemplated in the CIP yet. It's kind of as a standalone thing. I don't think that possibility exists for the 87th Street. The number 33, so along Sunflower Road from 91st down to Clearview also has that potential. So, it's not just when we go and completely reconstruct a road that potential exists otherwise. I don't see this one along K10 ever being built with any federal or any other type of funding that I know of right now.
So Mike, is there any chance of the county partnering with us for any of these? Which one is, if so, which one's most likely?
Well, at 24, the cars one, or that Kill Creek Road one, the other thing is Safe Route to School. It's also a cars route, and they have funded some sidewalk improvements with county car funding. So that would be the Sunflower Road. They're not going to partner with us for anything on the Sunflower Road piece. That's going to be wholly on us if we want to improve that road.
So, but yeah, so is that why? Because I remember way back, Mike, you had maybe Freudian slip. You did 34. We had talked about 33, but you wanted to come down. What was it? Lexington, right? From Clearview to Lexington.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, is it because that road might be more likely to get, shared funding? I mean, or is that just a pure? Is there an engineering reason why that might be a better reason? Okay.
No, not really. Not really. There wasn't any.
It's a good point though, Josh, because that is also a cars route, and it would qualify for Safe Routes to Schools as well. I mean,
I just think
that
populations out there, right, of people that are out there, and there's no way they're kind of disconnected from the rest of the community, at least from pedestrian.
I think if I remember our discussion, we chose 33 over 34 because we knew the 91st Street was getting extended.
Yeah.
And 33 is just a more direct route to Clearview than 34 was.
But Josh, I do appreciate you reminding me that Mike, we kind of voted that one off and Mike put it back on there. So I know, Mike, you've got a reason. I remember that.
Well, joke's on you because this is an old map. This is Yeah, no, I don't have any special affinity for number 34.
Okay. Although, Mayor, I appreciate you pointing out that it's both cars and safe routes to school. So we probably shouldn't take it all the way off the table.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something that staff works on.
we should throw it in the cars for like 5 years out and see what they say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. You know, if we included a mill and overlay along there and sidewalk, it'd probably go over better.
Right.
On which one?
On 34.
All right, I'm gonna say my last comment. I think they all ought to stay. I think the trails were very popular. I don't think that very many, there may be a few that voted against it because of they didn't like the layout of the trails. But frankly, I think we should leave it just as is for the next election. Trails did not cause this election to fail. Soccer caused it to fail.
Somebody remind me of before the bond, what was the result of people, did they categorize the trails?
I think it was
Did we
in
do
the
that?
pre-bond surveys, wasn't it? Trails was like the number one.
Yeah.
Right, did they rank them like we did?
No.
Oh, okay.
It was just a general.
Okay, because I just wonder
Yeah.
if that would make it.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be based on where you live.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I get that right, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I tried hard not to rank it like that, but I wanted.
I mean, they're
Yeah, that's it, right?
close by my house.
Yeah.
I guess in the scheme of all things, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but the list that goes to the council, I mean, you can send this in either packet to the council if you want to, but it's gonna have to all be in a specific order in terms of, I don't know, can you break it out between the way we've broken it out now? Here's the soccer, if you guys wanna do this, here's the trails. if you guys
Yeah, I
wanna do
don't
this.
think we necessarily have to go 1 through 100 on
Okay.
it to include the soccer and the trail. I think the discussion we've had tonight is a good way to frame the discussion with the council. But, you know, park board, we've got 3 different areas here, and this is our thought on this area, that and the other. Soccer field being the biggest ticket unless, you know, one of these trails supersedes that.
Now, I guess that was my question. Does the park board think anything in here supersedes a different category or something different that they would like to forward on to the city council? That's what I was getting at.
Yeah. I don't get the impression that, I mean, I think the council's well versed enough in what park board's been doing to understand the kind of 3 different kind of apples and oranges categories. And I think Bill makes a good point with the trails being in a referendum. That combined with the fact with these other funding possibilities with these trails and other mechanisms to make them happen. And, you know, we talked quite a bit about these, you know, the ones that follow existing roads don't have to be voted on, really. We can bond money for those things too. So that's another level. But I think that's all a good plan. I don't see the council coming and saying, well, we're gonna build all these trails and forget everything else. Because that's what the pre-survey said. I don't see much, and we'll be able to.
What it's going to come down to are the pieces that we can fit into the CIP, and so having projects of varying sizes is going to help a lot with that, because fitting another $300,000 project in there is a whole lot harder than it is to fit a $30,000 one in.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I was getting at though. Is it more important to get a trail segment in than it is to do stuff if you all, add up the little stuff? I guess is what my question was. The council gonna come up with that question. We've got $300,000. Do we want to know this little stuff? Do you guys think it's more important to put this trail or whatever the dollar? That's my only, that was what I was getting at.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the answer to that.
So from my perspective, I guess, being as a Parks Board member, I would like to see, if you got the high project, obviously the sports complex, that's a big ticket, that money's not there. Then instead of worrying about those trails, which I think we should personally just kick them off until we either have a bond referendum or if there's a reason to do them now. Other reasons, like knock out, get some of the park improvements done, like show that improvement there where we can get those things improved, That's my thought. Let's really focus on what we got at the parks and improving those until we can get a bond referendum on a big trail push, if that's what we want to do down the road.
Yeah, I agree, Josh. I think that's a good tactic. I would agree with that 100%.
So Josh, just to make sure that I understand what you're saying, potentially put all of the park grade or attempt to put all of the park grades in the CIP, park upgrades into the CIP.
I'm
Is that
thinking
what
of
you're?
Plan B, right? So it sounds like what we need to get is we need to get the sports complex, which is a big chunk of change, but that's also, I mean, if I'm hearing Rick, Mike, that might not happen because it's too big of a project in the next CIP, right? So it doesn't fit. So then on Plan B, still get some sort of parks improvement done, knock off something at that point with Plan B, picking some of the other things that, Riverfest seemed to be a high priority thing with the community, making sure that's improved. I don't know. That's my thinking. I don't know if that makes sense.
Discuss the whole fact that maybe the bond didn't pass because of the sports complex, and so that the sports complex is a better avenue with the CIP to remove it. It'd be great if some of the CIP covered some of the park stuff, but that the parks and the trails would then be a bond by itself without,
Yeah,
I would love to see some of the improvements, especially with everybody agreeing that Miller Park is kind of a priority to be, maybe cover some of that. And then whatever's left over can be tacked onto a bond so that we feel like we're serving two, different areas. We've got, the sports thing for the people who are, involved in that and have a stake in that, but also then the park kind of takes care of the rest of the community, whether you're have little kids who are playing or you're just walking around and enjoying being outside.
I think we're getting pretty close to a kind of a singular viewpoint here. I would encourage everybody to be careful about terminology, and I've heard the term sports or soccer complex thrown out several times. Really what we're talking about now is some basic soccer fields. It's not a complex, it's not a destination, it's not going to be a revenue generator for DeSoto like the Garmin and the Olathe Fields or Shields or whatever. This is really these are fields that are just going to support our existing programs. Same thing with the city parks things. And that's why, or the park upgrades, we're just taking care of what we got. The programs that we have and the way that they're currently being used. So it makes sense to me to use lesser terminology, not soccer complexes, just additional soccer fields for our existing programs in the CIP. Take care of our existing Miller Park issues in the CIP and some at Riverfest. And then everything else is, in my mind, somewhat optional. If our community wants trails and they want some of the other items that are remaining, restrooms at the soccer fields, we put that we let the voters decide.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think that's what most of us have said tonight. I mean, I'm trying to summarize, and not trying to push anything on you at all. Other than let's use soccer fields rather than soccer complex. I think that's a key term. Okay.
Well, that seems like a very clear summary and a very clear direction, at least from staff. I mean, that's exactly what we wanted to get out of it. And so we do have another meeting in December. And so we can package up this concept. We've got some tweaking to do on the soccer fields, cost estimate, and then we'll include those Miller Park improvements. So we could package that up, polish it up for the December meeting. So we go into January with the council and the CIP discussion with pretty clear direction from the park board. So that's great. Yeah,
I like it.
Great discussion.
You want to throw the agenda back up there, Mike?
Yeah, sure can.
There we are. There was no new business.
Nope.
So staff reports,
Mike,
these can probably go pretty quick. Go ahead, Jay.
So I can handle A. So we have made the selection for an engineering consultant on the Miller Park drainage, just for the engineering. We got 10 responses to a request for proposals, which really surprised me. So it took us a while to get through this. Probably at the second November meeting, we'll have that recommendation for the council and hopefully a scope of fee to get the consultant on board to start that process. So again, we will be constructing that next year with the next year's CIP project. And just as a reminder, the goal of that is to alleviate the Lake Miller Park phenomenon that we often get after rainstorm events. So, yeah.
Right.
And then item 8B, land acquisition. It's still, a green light. It just hasn't happened yet. There's been some issues with family trust situation. We did execute an extension of our purchase option on the property. So we have until, what did Patrick say? Did you
March of 21.
Till March for the seller to figure out the trust issue. There's still no indication that's going to fall through. It's just taking some time on their end. So that's still happening.
All right, I'll go on to C, Aquatic Center site refurbishment. I think we talked about the last meeting. They started last week doing some sanding and some pressure washing. They were back today. Started doing some painting on the 3 slides at the pool. So the hope is, especially with the nice weather, knock on wood this week, that they will be able to finish sprucing all that stuff up out there. D, with the CARES Act project, we talked about this before, a couple of things that I'm involved in. The HVAC in this building, we've had 3 of the rooftop units replaced so far. One of the rooftop units is still on order. There are some, 6 or 7 split system units that are still going to be done. So that's in progress. And what we're doing is and so I think I mentioned this last time, just to make sure, with these new units, there's a product called iWave. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that at all, but it's an air purification system that's put into these units to hopefully aid in circulation, knocking down particles. That's the wrong terminology to use, or what came to mind, to clean the air in the system. So.
Hey Jay, what kind of product is that? Is it like ionization? Is it UV? What is it that's cleaning the air?
Ionization, yeah.
Ionization.
Yeah. The other project we're doing involves plumbing. The contractor has completed all of the hands-free faucets in the restrooms and other locations, as well as the hands-free flush valves. This is all exciting to you guys. The one thing that is back ordered, one item that, or multiple, I think 6 of them, some hands-free drinking fountains, and a couple of them are going to have bottle fillers with them. So trying to get the facility to where we can reduce the touch as much as possible. So we've also installed on our own the hands-free paper towel dispensers. So that's pretty much it on that kind of on the CARES Act stuff. Program-wise, we finished up our youth volleyball program last week. We finished up soccer. I think we had some games on 4th, I think we had one game. So we're done with those 2 fall programs. What we're doing right now, this Saturday, we're starting our youth basketball clinic, which is November the 7th, 14, and 21 on Saturdays mornings. That's for ages kindergarten through 6th grade. We divide them into 2 different age groups. So they'll come in for an hour each one of those days, get some basketball instruction. We're also currently taking registration for our youth basketball program league, I guess you could call it, where we're putting up kids on teams. One thing that was decided this year that's different than any other year I've been involved is each community decided to do their own thing. We're not going to be playing with the other towns like we have in the past. We're going to do each town's going to do it in-house. We don't know if Baldwin wasn't able to do volleyball because of youth school district facilities. They were still trying to fight to get a facility for basketball and hadn't heard anything yet. Ward decided that they did not want to play anybody else, so basically left us in Wellsville. And the concern of then, is it worth it to just kind of go back and forth there? So we just decided to do our own thing. So depending on numbers, it may be 5-on-5, it may be 3-on-3, maybe some modifications to it, but we're going to try to provide a program for those kids that's still on the way. So deadline is 3 from today. The other program we got started back up tonight was adult volleyball. We didn't have enough teams for the first session, September, October, but we were able to get 4 teams for the November, December session. So they're all playing in there tonight, and we'll go every Monday night for the next 7 weeks. We'll advertise for another one starting in January. So, a couple other things I didn't have on there, I just want to mention real quick, so everybody that you need out of here. As you saw coming in here, got some involvement in City Hall security project. I think we've talked about that before at some point, about putting in access controls so that only City Hall employees will be able to be in the center corridor. The only way general public could come in is if they're let in. It's not just going to be wide open. There'll be a foyer area out front where people can come up. The window will move around to the side where they come up and pay their bills and things like that. So kind of a safety thing, as well as kind of with the access, kind of know who's been where. That's one thing you'll kind of, you see the mess out there as you walk in. I'm sure that's in progress. Also, we're in the process of adding security cameras at the aquatic center. Something we wanted to do for a long time as well. So cameras are all up, but they came to install last Tuesday or Wednesday. I think it was Tuesday. The weather was absolutely wonderful. But they have to do some trenching between the buildings. They said, can we come back next week? Just be back this week at some point to finish that. So we'll have cameras here. We'll have cameras that we have to do other cameras that are fast on the bathrooms. I think we talked about that too. So
There was something that wasn't on the list for the soccer fields.
I had that thought. Because
lighting, but
it wasn't a week after we got those cameras operational down there that Wednesday night, some idiot came through the parking lot, did a bunch of donuts and tore up the grass soccer fields down there. And we got them on the camera. So look at the social media. I think Johnson County Sheriff put out a social media post and we
Saw that today.
shared it as well.
they did put it out.
Got a screenshot of the truck. So yeah, keep an eye out. But when I saw that, I had the thought about that down at the soccer field. So yeah.
And that's something I want to transfer. We want to get something out of Valley Park as well. We had somebody decided to go through over the weekend, light a bunch of trash cans on fire. Burn a bunch of the liners and the receptacles. Fire department had to come down and put it out. So.
oh, that's what was. It was on the social media too, but there was never an answer as to what was happening. Yeah.
So that's something we're about set up with Wi-Fi down there. We've got one end of it done. the gazebo end is done, we need the Wi-Fi over at the shelter house, which we're working on. And that one we'd like to add some down there as well, so security, trying to keep track of everything, so. I know I talked for too long, but want to kind of update you. So, hey, Bill, was that your boy's truck?
No, I don't think so.
That's what I told the cops to go talk to.
All he's been doing is working on his homework here at home.
Yeah, he is. Whose son is he?
Why they call it homework?
Hey, guys, before we move for adjournment, I threw together. Hey, Mike, can you let me share real quick my screen?
Yeah.
Not that I wasn't listening to Jay, but while he was talking, I threw together a sort of a statement that maybe mayor can use with the council.
Okay, it's yours. Should be.
There it is. Can you see that?
Yep.
All right. So we would move the most basic portions of the soccer fields, not complex, to the CIP, which, because it's needed for existing programs. We would leave the restrooms and the permanent asphalt / parking and curbs to bond. We'd move all the park upgrades to the CIP because they are existing facilities in need of CIP care. And we would keep all the trails in the potential bond referendum as ranked, but possibly remove trails a section at a time to meet bond referendum dollar thresholds. Is that the general consensus? And please speak up if I missed anything. I don't want to speak for anybody that didn't agree with this.
We don't have to write a staff report now.
Yeah, that's good.
Mayor, you got that? Is that okay? You're muted.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. Yeah, I think that captures what I heard here tonight through your discussions. Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Good deal. All right, I'll send that to you guys.
Sounds good, thanks.
Okay, next, unless there's anything else from the staff?
Nope.
Next meeting, I assume that you guys will refine this a little bit and kind of, we'll go over it one more time. And we can get some follow-up on the stuff that Jay just shared with us, the staff report stuff. But all sounds like it's going in the right direction. Anything else for the good of the cause? Jay, thanks for organizing the survey and making me get it done. I was last, in case anybody was wondering. But it's good to get everybody on the same page, and it sounds like we're pretty much of the same mind. So, good deal. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
All right. Was that a second?
Yeah.
Nice. I think Josh beat Teresa on
No,
the second.
no, that was Mary Jo.
Oh, it was Mary Jo. Give Mary Jo on a second.
She's ready to go.
All right. Those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, guys. Mike, is there anything else? Jay?
That's it.
We're adjourned.
Yeah, it's time. Thanks, Bill.
All right. I'll put this email, I'll put this little document